Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of politicians and perspectives and personalities.
Or not.
Or none of the above. Which is the way it turned out this morning, so we'll wing
Yes,
it.
we want to thank our guests so much.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not, as the case may be.
Who didn't show up?
We'll start out with the usual format, though, of kudos on Viewpoint. As I've said before, this is a round ball town, and rightly so. We've had a very successful basketball career for many, many years for a lot of great young men and nice young ladies that play pretty doggone good basketball too.
Yeah, my daughter.
Yes, in fact.
She even coached out there for a while after she graduated. Yeah.
Time flies. In any event, Eaton Industries has been very, very kind to us here in this community in furnishing facilities out there on the south side of their complex. A couple of football fields and all cut the goalpost, the whole 9 yards. And there's some young men that go out there in the late summer, early fall, and really labor hard in youth football. A lot of volunteer coaches and the feeder system. And by golly, we have a new coach here in Lincoln, Illinois, at our high school football team, and we popped off into the new conference with an early win. So kudos to our football railers, and it's good success to them down through the years. It's interesting, we changed conferences, and part of the analogy, I think, part of the reasoning was to cut down on some traveling. Well, Macomb's a pretty good run from here.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. Forgotonia, they used to call it.
Or as your daughter called it, Western.
Yes.
You might elucidate on that a little bit.
Well, my youngest went to Western Illinois University and had a very nice time. And so she called it Western because she wasted 2 years there, which was not the fault, I hasten to add, of Western Illinois University.
No, I'd say that they were not complicit.
Jim's shaking his head yes.
I was there 1 year.
You were there for you? Oh, and he had a good time too, so there you have it.
Well, that's often the case.
Oh, heck.
But I know, speaking of that, my grandson Jerry went to Lincoln College, and we have a great food service here for our youngsters, our students, and our faculty members. They eat well in very nice facilities. And so I said to Jerry, how's the food, Jerry? Knowing fully well, I was kind of baiting him a little bit. Oh, I says, it's okay. Well, I went away to school, over to Macomb, and he said Lincoln College had far superior food. So
yeah.
Those kids, Wetland family has done a great job for us down through the years at our Lincoln College, and they do catering here and there, and they just do a great job. But our kids eat well, and the other thing I always noticed that Warren, God rest his soul, and Kurt to a lesser degree because he's not as artistic as his daddy was, but they always put displays out, seasonal displays and so forth.
Yes, and they were really outstanding.
Yeah, nicely done, yes. Well, we were going to talk about city business today, and that somehow failed to materialize. Though, let's throw the mic open, 648-5510. Somebody ought to have a kudo or two about the way our streets are being taken care of, or maybe have a brilliant idea on where to fund it, because to fix our streets throughout the entire community is just going to be astronomical.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Certain streets that we all avoid.
And alleys. Now, ours may have a couple of little holes, but they're negotiable. But like between the library and the library annex, that's kind of a busy alley. It could really use a little attention. Or I'm glad I don't have my little Chevette I used to have years ago, because if you went down that alley, you could lose that Chevette right in
Well, we
there.
almost lost you anyway, 2 or 3 times of the cars you have. sometimes you can't get your fingers out of the trunk.
Oh, yeah, there was that, too.
Are you aware of that one, Jim?
That was coming up here. 8 fingers in the trunk of the car, and I couldn't get them out.
And I'm sitting there with a radio blaring, oblivious to her problems back in
out there in the rain.
Speaking of the library, I just happen to have a little handout. It's entitled "Remembering the Past, Preserving the Future," and it's the Carnegie Building Preservation Fund. Probably for us to bring back that nice librarian, Mr. Summerall, and talk about what we do here in Logan County with this great library.
Let's do that. And Richard Summerall is a marvelous person.
Yes, quietly going about it, and every day they do a great job. And that facility across the alley, which is primarily the children's library, it's just, I used to take my great-granddaughter in there, and she got too old for that suddenly, and therefore I was fired.
That'll happen.
I did that with need no, but that's a marvelous place, and we got some great people in our library system do a great job. Definitely. So I think we're going to get them back, which reminds me also of the Whistle Stop library over there, and I talked to Donna the other day.
You did talk to?
Yeah, and they have daily visitors there. That sweet little
I've got a
Emden
bunch
library.
of books for her too that I have to get to her.
Yeah. So 648-5510. Once again, we'll ask one of the two listeners to call in. We want to talk about city government and what there seems to be some sort of consternation going on up there in the minds of at least one person. And that's probably it. So anybody had any comments while there's a... And you can remain anonymous. We'll only announce your name in capital letters. You were about to have some input into something.
I wanted to kind of piggyback on your kudos here, please and thank you. I did not go out to the airport last weekend, but I did hear that it was very nice, all the balloons and all. But I did go uptown to Latham Park, and that was nice. And guess who was there?
Our friend Bob
Your
Holloway.
Old hero. Yeah.
Jim, are you familiar with his artwork? He's been coming to our art fair since its inception, I believe. Gentleman out of Kansas City, I believe. Very unique, very interesting art form. We have several of his pieces there at home. Matter of fact, we've run out of wall space, so thank God I'm saving money now. We have no more places to put his stuff. But I was happy to see his work on display there.
Yes.
Very interesting gentleman, 85 years old now.
Is he?
Snow white hair, and he wasn't there the Saturday afternoons when I went down, and I think it was his son that was manning the guns that afternoon. And whether Bob was here, in fact, that I do not know. Somebody said they saw him, but
I did.
Oh, you saw him. Okay, that's somebody.
How quickly you forget.
That is
almost somebody.
Come to think about it. Boy, your daughters would be proud of that. So I hope it went well. There seems to be some consternation about how things got moved around and scheduling and changing and so forth. Hopefully things are glued back together now, and from here on we'll change just a little bit and see what happens. Now, did you have anything forthright that you wanted to propound this morning? You usually propound my ear coming down here.
I know that. But I did have something I wanted to bring up that sometimes it doesn't happen.
Next week we're going to have with us as our guest.
I'm not sitting in my regular chair, and
I have to let the cat out.
That's my job there. Oh dear heaven! She'll be all discombobulated.
Next week, we're going to have with us as our guest John Blackburn and President David Gerlach of Lincoln College. Lincoln College, as you know, is in the midst of a capital fund drive, badly needed, as all educational institutions are. Being a private school, we face a little different situation than those that are on the public dole. And so it'll be fun to have John. John Blackburn, by the way, stood in as an interim president for us for a while, having retired from Country Financial, I should say. Did a whale of a job for us for a couple of years, and so he's done the community a huge favor, and it continues to serve. He and Jack Sporatio are a gentleman from California, an alum of the school, co-chairing this fund, and have done a great job so far. Both of them ponied up a significant amount of money on their own to kind of lead the charge a little bit. So we'll find out more about that next week. It's going to be John Blackburn is very well respected in this community. Came here as an agent for country companies, and when he quit, he was at the top of the ladder. So good for him. And we have a great new president, Dave Gerlach. So
yes,
Dave is spending a lot of his. Well, he doesn't have much spare time. But Dave's spending some spare time building remote-controlled model airplanes.
Yes.
And that's a pretty technical thing, and he's doing a whale of a job. He's building a big one right now. So we'll find out more about that.
While we're on the subject of education, let's think about our Lester's legislature, who seem to have reached some sort of agreement on the funding of schools. I was going to say just in the nick of time, but I guess it's a little late because we're already at school.
The nick of time would hardly apply to anything they do down there in Springfield or in Washington, D.C. and what they call the swamp.
Neither outfit could organize a one-car funeral, I don't think.
I really don't know anything about the meat and potatoes of the legislation that they have.
I don't think there's been a lot said about what the agreement has been. Has there, Jim? Mm-hmm. Well, where was I? Under a bushel someplace?
No, you were walking Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
We need to get Tim Butler back here. As a matter of fact, I did call him a 3 weeks ago, and we're going to set a date and bring him in here, and maybe he can tell us about what is or more importantly is not going on down there. That seems to be the what not goes on is more important than what does actually get. Yes, go right ahead.
I heard this morning on the news that they're raising the property taxes again in Chicago.
Well, isn't that interesting? Those four folks up, Mike Madigan will have to take care of them.
Yes, he will. That's his
Mr.
job.
Ash, whenever your schedule allows, you may jump into the commercials if you wish, sir, and we'll go ahead and we'll see. Maybe somebody will show up between then and now, but I doubt it. All right, back half alive here in the studios of WLCN. The program was Viewpoint or no Viewpoint, as the case may be, depending upon your bench. And if you have done the dishes this morning, pull up a chair and sit down and listen to Judith Kay ponder and pontificate. By the way, let's go back to another kudo. Last week we had a very, very interesting guest, and our young friend Jeff Martin from over around Vinegar Hill Way. New type of farming, different type of farming. I found that very interesting, Judith Kay.
Oh, gosh. The guy, I think, must have been a chemist at heart.
Yeah, he would have been.
That was just amazing.
Well, it's a different, certainly he's taking a conservative approach, and who heard of creating microbes?
Yeah.
Now, when this fall, when he's not busy in the field, he's going to be creating more microbes, and you and I are going to we're going to take Dennis Campbell over. I talked to him about that.
I bet he was interested.
Dennis is very interested in that.
Yeah.
And
maybe you better explain who Dennis Campbell is.
Dennis Campbell is a
heck of a guy.
Yes, that's about baseline. Retired professor at Lincoln College, the godfather of Creekside, which has now been happily named in his honor, and rightfully so. Creekside, by the way, folks, if you haven't, you're not aware of it. I wish I could tell you the actual road it's on. You go to Bell Station, go straight north on Bell Station, and you'll come to a crossroad. And there's a very lovely home there in the one corner, and then you turn right and go down, and there's a small sign that said Small Edwards Trace, which is the road back into Creekside. And there's a great environmental study center back there, and Dr. Dennis Campbell is the godfather of that, and he's done a remarkable job, and it's a wonderful thing, not only for the college, it is the college ground, but it's a study center. And he welcomes strangers up there. He'd love to show that to them. So I thought that he would be interested in seeing what Jeff Martin's doing over there in Mount Pulaski. So we'll take him over there when the time comes.
Now, isn't that the same area where the mastodon tooth and jaw were found?
That's where young Judd McCullum found that mastodon tooth. And by the way, well, you can see that if you step into the college library, and you'll see in a big, nice case there, history from millions of years ago. And young Judd, by the way, was a great student. He used to walk around the campus with a python or a boa constrictor hung around his neck about a 6 foot long.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he just liked to do that. Anyway, young Judd is making a career out of repurposing old barn sidings and old buildings. And he refinishes and redoes the wood, and he's made himself quite a little nice business out of that.
Oh, yeah.
So congratulations to him, too. His daddy was a basketball coach here at Lincoln College, and later suffered a stroke and has come along pretty well as a result of the recovery from that. So I know about it because my son lives up in Canton. That's where his daddy lives up there. So I kind of keep in touch that way. That was a very significant discovery for a young man made. Obviously so, my goodness. For those folks who are into archaeology, I can't even spell the word anymore. So, go ahead.
Well, and it was really an accidental discovery.
Yes, as a matter of fact, he thought he had an old tree limb or something at first, and Dr. Campbell said, "Put that down. Let's get on with what we're doing." Well, it turns out that's what it was. And the interesting thing about that is, you would have thought in the course of time that maybe another one showed up. They don't go around with just one tusk, They do.
Yeah, right.
You might recall when you're looking at the pictures that they each have one on either side. So, where'd the other one go? Who knows?
Oh, good grief. How many years ago was this? 100 million?
I wasn't there.
No.
Although there are days when it might feel like that.
But it's a very interesting thing to see. They were studying the life that's in a creek, and he kind of stumbled on it, literally.
The students that we have are a great bunch of kids there at Lincoln College, and now we have a new crop aboard. And when I'm on campus, I try to visit with them and ask them how they're doing, where their home is, and are they having a good time here? Are they learning anything?
Yeah.
I always give them a little lecture about learning first and having fun second. And I tell them I didn't do that, so I'm telling you from experience. So that they know they're hearing it from an expert that way. But it's a great lifestyle, and we have some new apartments. Links Village, they're just north of the campus on Nicholson Road. Very nicely done, and those are new housing for our kids. And it's my understanding that those apartments are full already.
Good.
So. Excuse me, please. I get all choked up when I sit here and talk to you like this, and I have a very difficult time.
Oh. It's 648-5510. Talk to Bill.
Yes. Tell him how boring it can be. If you're nothing else, he can take it.
Well, heck, I was hoping Clay would show up. Of course, when you invite somebody to come out here, you always kind of hope that they show up. But I thought maybe he'd broach this subject of our refuse removal in the city of Lincoln. I was with a friend yesterday who lives outside the city limits, and she said, well, what does this do to us then? And I said, I don't really know what it would do to you, because if there's just one contractor in town, I would assume that you could keep whoever you contract with,
whomever you have, yes,
to pick yours up. But then, if they have just the subdivisions, for lack of a better word, to pick up, is that enough to come? Those prospective contractors were from Peoria. Is that enough for them to come here?
Originally it goes way back to local ownership, from way back in the origin of the company. And I just assumed in my naivete, or better word, ignorance, that
I like naivete.
Well, it kind of glosses over ignorance. That we had you could hire anybody whom you wish to hire to haul away your refuse. I've been very happy, and you have been we happen to have the same one.
Yeah.
And very, very satisfied with the area. They're very diligent. They're always on schedule. And I have no idea where the council is in reference to making a final decision. It should be coming up very, very quickly now. They have a tendency to table things. Now, and sometimes that's just kicking the can down the road. You just have to pick up and look at it and say, let's make a decision.
Well, I think that's kind of business as usual in governmental entities anymore, across the board.
Does anybody have any insight into where we are in this matter of making a decision on the handling of refuse here in Lincoln, Illinois?
Yeah.
648-5510, and anybody has any decisions, or not decisions, but any information on those decisions. So we'd like to know about that.
Well, you talk about the fact that we both have the same company, and they've been so good. I've got a brick on the top of each of my garbage cans, because otherwise the wind comes down the alley, and you've got cans without lids or lids without cans.
Or your bottles that I notice.
Your what?
The bottles that I notice flowing down the alley.
Oh.
Everybody knows what kind of wine you drink.
Why, Bill? But they're so careful about putting the lids back on the cans and the bricks back on the lids, so that I've got the matched sets out there. They've just been.
And if you put a little extra out there, and they're very good about taking it away.
Yeah, I certainly.
We've had good service. Now the streets in Lincoln are a huge problem. We all know about that. I'm sorry? Okay, all righty. I thought maybe somebody called in with some cogent information of some sort.
Yeah.
The streets that we have here in...
Commercial.
We handle a commercial. You're going to late. I'm going to have to fire you.
Sorry.
Put him on notice, please. Thank you very much for the coffee, Mr. Maxwell.
I'm good.
Thank you, sir.
Bless you.
Appreciate that. There has to be, in the grand plan, some long-range plan because it would be an astronomical figure to fix the streets that we have in this community now. Just astronomical. And somebody's got it's a long bonded situation or something, but it has to take some long-range planning. There's no question about that. And I haven't heard it alluded to at all. They're more worried about somebody getting paid too much or something, some silly little thing that's not really terribly important.
And that's a factor. God knows you're not going to get much help from the state. They're broke,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. You didn't hear that yet, huh?
I wasn't aware of that.
Now you know. So it's all going to come from here. Well, they're kind of darned if they do, darned if they don't, because, like you say, that's going to cost millions and millions of dollars if we were going to have all the streets
do it right.
in good shape and done right. Yeah, and we're going to gripe if they want to raise our taxes. You know, so I don't know how you reconcile those kinds of things. It's not easy.
I'd like to know if anybody contacts their alderman or alder lady,
or how many people know who it is,
and if they get response from their chairs in their particular wards. Now, we've sent a good young man up there, not out of our ward, unfortunately, Mr. Ron Keller.
Oh, yeah.
Man with some particularly...
He's from across the street from us.
Yeah.
That's where his territory starts.
Yes, that's right. We like to have people of Ron's caliber up there because a thinking person and doing... doesn't make snap judgments. Kind of takes everything under consideration and then makes the judgment, and that's what these folks need to do up there. But it's just been by not a matter of neglect. It's just I assume that we just simply do not have the money to work on the streets.
Yeah, I know, but the Band-Aid approach only is good just so long, you know.
Well, filling them with blacktop isn't going to last very long, you know.
It's just...
and that's what you have to do now.
Yeah.
This is, as I see it, without knowing a doggone thing about engineering or anything, but as I see it, it seems to me like there'd have to be some start from scratch in a lot of these places and just rebuild the entire streets.
Now, interestingly enough, I can't imagine when the streets right in our neighborhood were put down, but they're brick, and they're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
They really are.
Except where the potholes come, and then when they say what happened is they get it washed somewhere, and then you get the substrate and the foundation washed away, and then you don't have anything to hold up the brick.
You mentioned Ron Keller. We had occasion here a couple weeks ago to go hear Dan Tackett's band, and a couple kids from Lincoln College showed up. They'd brought their instruments and were playing, and Ron has a son named Josiah, wasn't that right?
And he's brilliant on the keyboard. I mean the guitar. I don't mean the '88 keyboard. I meant the keys on the strings on the guitar. He's just outstanding.
Well, that was kind of fun. I had no idea that was Ron's son.
Yeah, it was a nice evening. I call what I call Danny's boys possum holler pickers, and they serve great. They serve you some great chicken up there on Thursday nights. But it's an interesting. Dan appears up there every other Thursday, and he's not bringing anybody in from St. Louis or Chicago or anyway. These are all local boys, homegrown entertainers,
yeah.
And they do a heck of a job for us up there.
Well, and that particular night, there was a man in the crowd, and Danny knew him, and of course, and called him up there, and he said that he had sung with all kinds of quartets over the years, and so he was going to sing with them then, which he did. And it's just kind of, I mean, it's an established group and then a pickup group in addition, like, and it's so fun because they have such fun.
Well, it's kind of like Norman Rockwell's Americana type thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing.
Up in Armington, America.
Hey, by the way, speaking of Norman Rockwell, any Cub fans out there have any knowledge of what? I have a picture, a print, really, of an original Norman Rockwell thing they did on the Chicago Cubs. And of course, the Chicago Cubs were always at the bottom of the ladder in those times. And the essence of the picture is that the Cubs are sitting in the dugout there, all disconsolate, and they're all dejected, and they're probably behind 8 or 9 points or runs, and they've got a bat boy and everything. And as the manager of the Cubs at that time was Charlie Grimm, who was a friend of Gene and I. We got to know he and his wife later on, and he signed that and gave it to me. It's pretty good size. And I'm wondering, I'd like to know if many Cub fans, if there's I'm not going to sell it, but I'm just curious to know if there's a value in the market out there for that, and I thought it might be kind of interesting to know. So anybody that is a Cub fan or a collector of baseball memorabilia, I'd kind of like to have an idea what that thing might be worth. Oh, he also gave me a contract for the Cubs.
Oh, he did? Well, good. That's so nice.
He signed me up as a bat boy.
That was very nice. You know who might be able to help you? There's a fellow who works at the hospital that I got to know in working there all those years, and his name is Tim, and he is such a fan. He is such a fan, and he won a balloon ride.
Oh, good for him.
Last weekend. And I'm sure that was awfully exciting for him. He's a good egg.
Jim, as a member of the media, you ever get offered of an untethered balloon ride, actual free ride?
I've been up there.
Yeah.
Were you afraid?
No. Why would you do that? I understand we had a little incident at the Elks the other morning. Came down a little low and clipped an electrical line and almost tipped the basket over, and it finally landed on the golf course. So that would have been an interesting situation.
I've never been in one. Have you?
No. I've flown high many times, with or without airplanes.
Well, that was your misspent youth, wasn't it?
That's something I wanted to do, but I have no desire to take a tethered ride out. I'd just like to go up in a freestyle from down where we can. The interesting thing about that is that's a lot of work. Chase crews have to be in touch with the pilot, and just going up is one thing, but setting it down safely in a secured area is another thing. It takes more than a little skill. So kudos to those folks. We have some local boys that do that.
Yes, we have. More than a couple.
Jimmy Ireland and the mayor and Ed Dowling, among others that come to mind. I think there's two or three others too that do that. And it's a nice, nice quiet evening.
Oh, it's
a lot of work.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah, it's a good
they
exercise.
just don't crank those things up and let them go.
It's so pretty when they go over your house,
Dogs like it too.
Oh, well, yeah, of course, my dog barks at a leaf. Doesn't he, Jim?
Yes, if a leaf falls the wrong way, Murphy gets out of order.
Oh, yeah, he gets all bent out of shape.
He needs his barker fixed, by the way.
Oh, really? Well, but you can fix so much on a dog that you really don't have a dog left. By the time you clip their tail and you clip their ears and you neuter
other
them,
places.
And other places, and then if you clip their barker too, heck, why don't you get a stuffed animal? Right?
I hadn't thought of that particularly. I might use that at home. See if I can get by with that.
Rats a ruck.
All right, 648-5510. Who's going to fix our streets, or who can give us a little history on how they would go about? I think it's such a bad shape now that you have to talk long range planning over a period of years to get it done.
Now this is my personal opinion, and you people may think I'm flaming crazy, but I think for my money, and it is,
it is your money. Come think about it.
For my money, I say quit with this decorative curb drawing around the square. I guess it makes the snow plowing people very unhappy, and it cuts down on parking. Not that it's been a problem lately, but it does, and so forth. And I'm sure it costs $2.98 to do all that, right?
I'm certain of that.
Why don't we just knock that off and take that money and divert it to the account that says to fix the streets and alleys?
I wish our guest could have shown this morning, because I had
it would have been nice.
I had a very specific, besides the dull part of this world, I had a very specific question. We mentioned parking. Have you looked at the parking that they have made available there on Chicago and Sangamon Street at the depot renovation?
I haven't been near the depot.
There's enough parking there for O'Hara Field. It's just on Sangamon Street. They have two sections of parking, one off street and then one on Sangamon Street. And then over on Chicago Street, they've created a lot of new parking, extra parking. They've squeezed it out of there. And where are all the cars going to come from?
Do these entities that bequeath to the city a building or a property, which of course takes it off the rolls, the tax rolls, you know, right off, and then it becomes the responsibility of the city. Is that really a gift, do you think?
Well, you know what they say about looking a gift horse. It is mowers.
Yes.
So, but I'm just amazed. And of course, the thing that staggers anybody here and all up and down the railroad right-of-way is the incredible, and I emphasize that word, incredible amount of money they spent on this black fencing down the road here in Lawndale.
Yeah.
I get staggered around because I can't even come up with the right phraseology.
No, it just boggles the mind. What would?
That's assuming there's a mind to boggle.
There is that. Good point.
It's been made. That point's been made at my house many times.
But you know, wrought iron fencing like that would not be cheap, and we've got miles of it.
Well, they've made artistic work out of it. So, you know, I just can't imagine the thinking or the lack thereof that went into coming up with the idea for putting up this fencing all up down this right-of-way. And when you go to Chicago to St. Louis, there's a lot of right-of-way. Now, they're not doing it out in the country, but there's a lot of communities along this railroad tracks they're doing that in. We got a lot of Atlantas and Elkharts, you know, a lot of Lawndales up and down these tracks.
Oh, my, yes.
And they seem to see fit to protect somebody.
I don't know. And now that train that's supposed to go 80 miles an hour, I've heard all the way from it would save you 10 minutes on a trip from St. Louis to Chicago to it would save you like 45 minutes. What's the truth of that?
Well, that's really moot. The answer to that is truly moot, because in the great scheme of things, if it's 45 minutes from Chicago to St. Louis that you save, if that's the case, that's an awful lot of money to spend for 45 minutes. You know, seriously. And these people down here, we don't know in this country what a bullet train is. You need to go to Japan or Europe, where railroads have been the form of transportation for eons, and they've got it down to a science.
Yes.
Let me tell you, in those countries, if they say the train's leaving at 10:11, you better be there, because it's not going to leave at 10:11 and a half. It's going to leave at 10:11, and the trains are very comfortable, and it's a great way to travel over there. So we don't really know and they're trying it out on the West Coast.
But I bet they don't have nice fences like we have.
Well, we've muttered our way through this somehow, think or holler, and we've been deluged with phone calls. We thank you for that out there, ladies and gentlemen. Makes me sure that there's more than one listener out there. So we're going to close with a comment about small communities.
Yes.
And that's the truism. I grew up in a small town, but through books, I knew the world.
Good one.
Thank you for Viewpoint.